All right guys, welcome back to the channel. We got a new bike that I can add to my collection over here. We got so many, man, but this one is gorgeous. Now, when I was unboxing it and I saw it and you get to see all the parts up close, which I'll bring in here with the camera a little bit, the way this bike is put together, like there's attention to detail. This is a high-class e-bike, I will say. But there are some downsides to the bike. Like it doesn't have that much power. It only does 20 miles an hour. So real quick, let me introduce you to the bike. This is a Vanpowers e-bike. It's the UrbanGlide standard model. This does not have the Bafang motor in the back. They all have a 500 watt motor though. This one does not have the adjustable seat post. This one also has a speed sensor or a cadence sensor. It doesn't have a torque sensor like the other two models do that are above this one. So just keep that in mind as we ride. I like cadence sensors because I'm not a big fan of pedaling. I just want it to activate the little sensor and just give me all the power possible. But if you love putting your input into the bike based on how hard you pedal and that's how fast you go, then you might want to look into the other two models. But this one right here, I want to go over some of the specs. So 500 watt hub motor, you got a nice rear rack right here that holds up to 55 pounds. The bike overall holds up to 330 pounds. You have a nice tail light in the back that works with the brake levers. You have some nice pedals on here, nice crank. I will say the pedals do come very, very close to the ground, so that's a con to this bike, but I will say the reason why they put them so low is because it gives you better leg room as you're actually pedaling, so taller riders will really enjoy this bike. You got fenders all around. This is a 14.4 amp hour battery in here. Not very big, but it's only a 500 watt motor and you're limited to 20 miles an hour, so it should give you some decent range. They say you get up to about 60 miles of range. It's probably going to be on the lowest pedal assist. I'm expecting personally to get about like 28 to 30 miles of range out of this bike in the highest mode. You do have some nice grips up here, Shimano 7-speed, you got a bell. Nice, huge 3.5 inch display, which also has an app for this bike as well that you can get on your phone. Tells you your distances, your traveling, GPS, all that kind of stuff. It's really super, super cool. And then you have your thumb throttle on the left side because you have your shifter on this side. You have a nice headlight up front. Well, I actually haven't tested out the headlight yet, but I like that it's kind of small. It's kind of sleek with this bike, especially the skinny tires. These are also 27.5 inch tall tires. So you definitely sit really high off the ground, and since they aren't a fat tire e-bike, this should turn very, very well on the street. So let me bring you near with the camera real quick. Let's kind of show you some details up close, then we'll get our GoPro on and go take it out for a spin and see if it's worth it. All right, so let's start off in the back. Here is how the rear rack looks with the rear brake light and your fenders as well. Pretty close to the tire if you ask me. That's pretty nice gap right there. Here is a look at the 500 watt motor back here with the shifter. There you go. And then you do have a quick disconnect on this side as well, so it's gonna make it easy to change out flats on this bike, which I like. The only thing I did notice, and I don't know if it's for vibration purposes, but if you really look in here, they use some glue. I don't know what that is, but it's there. You're not gonna notice it though, but just something I noticed as looking at the bike. Right on this tube, you got your Class 2 sticker right there, 500 watt, 20 mile per hour. You got a decently sized chainring up here, nothing crazy or big, but you do have a 7-speed, so it shouldn't be too bad, especially with this bike only going up to 20 miles an hour. I think we should be okay with pedaling up to that speed. Nice, nice color paint on here. Integrated battery as well. It's seamless. I love it. But I can tell that they painted the battery separate from the frame, because if you do look at it very, very closely, you're going to see that the paint is ever so slightly off. So just something I noticed, but you're never going to notice it like when you're out and about riding. But under certain lighting conditions, you can kind of see that. Now up front, looking at this fender, something I really liked when putting this bike together is the fact that you do have adjustments back here. So there's 2 screws back here, so you can adjust that. And then you have an adjustment right here to pull these arms out so you can make it closer to the tire or farther out from the tire if you want. Then you also have this adjustment right here. Then you also have this adjustment down here so you can move this bar up and down. So you can get these fenders perfectly aligned to each setup, and I love how you do that. It is a little bit difficult to set up, but once you get it set up and dialed in, it's perfect looking. Now you do have a quick release up in the front, which makes it super nice to change out flats in the front as well, so I like that. Really simple to do if you get a flat. On this side you have 180 millimeter rotors. Again, no hydraulic brakes, these are cable brakes. Coming onto this side, nice integrated lock and unlock when you have the key, so you can take the battery out right in there. And then coming down here, this is where you would charge the bike, so you can take this off. You charge it right there. And then this is where you also turn the bike on. So you can't just come up to the top and hit this little switch. You actually have to come down here, push this, ooh, don't fall over, bike. And then you can come up here and turn the bike on, and it takes a little bit, and there you go. And that display is gorgeous. So looking at the display, you can see that it says in, and that means we're in neutral. So we have no pedal assist whatsoever. But if you do come over here, you can hit this up button. You go to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Standard like most bikes, and that will give you your pedal assist or your throttle input. Also on the screen, mile per hour, huge right in the middle. Then you have your miles traveled, trip, odometer, stuff like that. You also have your battery percentage right here, which I love the fact that they give you a battery percentage. And then you also have the time as well, which that is inaccurate. Over here, you're gonna have your nice grips. I love how these feel, but keep in mind they're not locking, so they kind of spin. So something I didn't really like too much, so just be easy on the grips and they won't move while you're riding, but if you do really grip onto them really hard, they will slightly move. But I mean, it is easier to get it in the right position for your palms, but I would have liked to see locking grips on there. You got your throttle right here. You got your power right here to hold that on and off. Then you got your plus and minus to go up. You cannot change this bike to go any faster than 20 miles an hour, so you're limited on that, just in case you guys were thinking that. And then over here is where you have your bell. This comes separate. You can put this on the bike if you want. I just put it over here just because there's not much stuff over there. Then I put the shifter right here, and it's a 7-speed by Shimano. I like these, they're okay, they're not too bad. And then your other grip on this side. But that's pretty much the setup in the front. There is one thing I gotta show you. If you do buy one of these bikes, make sure you tighten that bolt underneath. Now it's very hidden, a lot of people miss it. You definitely wanna make sure that you tighten this one right there or you're gonna be out for a ride and your handlebars are gonna move on you for no reason, so just keep that in mind. So here is how the lights look. I turned off all the lights in my garage except this top one right here. The rear brake light is fantastic. It is very bright, not mad about it. The front headlight you have to turn on by holding this plus button right here. Once you hold that, that will come on, and then you guys can see how this looks as well. It's a little high, so it needs to be adjusted. It's not bad, it looks pretty bright, but I will say that it's not very wide. So we'll do another test when we go back and forth to work, and we'll really see how this headlight looks. We're not gonna do that in today's video. But anyways, I think it's time we put the GoPro on and let's head out there and test out this bike and see if it's worth it, even though I do not know the price of this bike yet. But you guys can check the links down in the description. I will also have coupon codes probably for you as well. But let's get my stuff on and let's go. All right, here we go, max speed. Let's see what our top speed is. 20. I expect it to be 20 anyways. That's so funny. I will say this bike does take off pretty dang fast, and it feels like it has like more in it. Look at that, I'm already doing 15 miles an hour. I'm almost basically topped out. Look, I'm already at 20. So this has a very good power system in it, even though it's only a 500 watt motor. I'm very curious on what type of controller they're using, because this thing picks up very good. Now, I would have liked to seen this bike do 28 miles an hour because I feel like it does have a lot more left into it. And I went through the manual. I went to see if there was any information on unlocking this bike, and I didn't see anything. The company also didn't tell me anything about unlocking the bike. They said it's 20 miles an hour max. So that's unfortunate. I will say that the manual, though, is one of the best I've seen on an e-bike. There was some dedication and work put into the owner's manual, so you guys know torque specs of like everything on this bike, which is fantastic. So far, it's been a very nice cruising ride, very quiet as well. No noise at all from the chain or the hub motor or anything. It's absolutely just quiet. I feel like I'm in my own little bubble. It feels like a direct drive hub motor. It's just nice and smooth, no issues. The seat actually feels very comfortable as well. This bike turns very fast, which we'll test out a little bit later. I gotta say though that the thumb throttle on this side, even though I like it, it's actually very beefy and it looks like well built, even though it is plastic. It just looks so much better than the cheap ones that I've been putting on my custom e-bikes. It has a lot of resistance to it. So my thumb is actually kind of hurting a little bit by holding it down, and I've only went 1 mile so far. So something to just keep in mind, that it's has a lot of resistance to it. All right, so back to the turning. Right off the bat, I mean, I can just turn and lean this bike pretty dang good. I love how it turns. So it's very nimble and quick to like get out of like situations, or you see a pothole or a rock. I mean, you could just like quickly go around it, you know what I'm saying? So I probably scared that car right there. But yeah, so you can kind of do that if you want. Again, I had to adjust these grips a little bit. They spin ever so slightly, so I got them lined up to where I like them. I'm happy with the bike so far. I don't like bells, but I am glad that it comes with it off the bike, so you kind of install it if you want. I would have liked to seen a horn on this bike, even if it was something integrated into like the stock headlight, even though this headlight is very small and that's not going to accept a speaker in the back for a horn. But if they went with something different, it would have been nice to see something on this bike. All right, so you guys know what we do here, but if you're new to the channel, I do a speed test, 0 to 20, 0 to 25, 0 to 30. We're gonna use the throttle only. We're not gonna use the pedals, but in the next section, we're gonna use the pedals only, and then we're gonna go through all the gears. So I'm actually gonna downshift while we're going this way, because I'm just gonna use the throttle, so when we get to the next location, we're already gonna be in the lowest gear. So anyways, let's start this off. 1, 2, 3, go. 15, 18, 20. It's already there. Like, it's quick, man. I feel like this bike would have been perfect. It was 28 miles an hour. I don't know. You guys can tell me what you guys think, but I mean, it just gets up there so quick and then it just flatlines. But I will say, I like the fact that this bike doesn't have that pulsation where I feel like most bikes do when they hit like a certain mile per hour and they limit you, where it like kicks on the power and then drops, and then kicks on the power, then drops. This one doesn't feel like that. It just kind of nicely, steadily holds you at that mile per hour, and it feels very comfortable. I did notice when I was turning a little bit that I was losing a little bit of speed. You can kind of feel the power kick on and off, but it's so fast to kind of keep that mile per hour that I didn't really feel too much of it compared to some other e-bikes we've done. So anyways, now, since we're at the other section, let's use the pedals only. We're not gonna use the throttle to start off. I always highly suggest using the throttle to start off on these bikes, because it's a little bit hard to stay balanced until the pedals kick on. But I can also get an idea of how these pedals feel. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, there we go. It was a slow start, but 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour, 18, 19, 20. We're done. We're done. We got so much road to go down. Normally I'm like struggling to get every mile per hour out of each bike, but this was like super easy. And it does feel nice to pedal. Let's go through our gears really quick and let me see. So I'm on 7. Doesn't feel bad. Doesn't feel like I'm ghost pedaling or anything like that. So it feels actually like pretty nice. It's not too bad. I will say the throttle feels a little bit better using it compared to the pedals. I feel like I am actually now getting that pulsation when using the pedals of it kicking on and off when you hit top speed. So if you don't want that feeling, just use a throttle. I like the fact that when you're riding as well, you can see your power limit. So that's that green bar that keeps going back and forth. I'm not exactly sure what this one is right here, but this one keeps going up and down. And I'm pedaling right now just to kind of, I was trying to see what that does. So I'm gonna stop pedaling. This green bar went all the way down. Now I'm gonna use throttle. So actually, no, this is your top speed and this is the power coming into the bike. Okay, so I got that backwards. It's a little learning curve, but okay, that makes sense. So this is your power coming on and off, and then this is your actual top speed. And then I'm assuming this little gray area is like you're at the max or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if that means like your red line, because it looks like a little red line indicator. I'm not exactly sure. But here is the bike. Normally the sun is out and I can get a good look at the bike, you know, in the sun, but it's gonna rain. California is weird. So we gotta hurry up and finish this ride. Something I'm not gonna do on this bike is I'm not gonna take it off-road, because this is not an off-road bike whatsoever. It's not a fat tire e-bike, it's a skinny tire. And I feel like if you're just gonna buy this bike, it's not going to be for it. Like, is it gonna be able to go through that? Yes. Is it gonna feel like decently comfortable? Probably. I just feel like I don't need to test that out, because it's just gonna get the bike dirty overall, and it's not made for that. It's an urban commuter, like for the city and stuff. So if you're looking at going off-roading, or you have mixed riding, street and dirt, I would probably stay away from getting this bike. So quick update, I have went 3 miles on this bike since we're at 96%, and we are down to 86% within that 3 miles. So we went down 10% in 3 miles. Again, 10% in 3 miles. All right, so we got to do a braking test somewhere over here. So let's go right off of these poles right here. These poles that go down into the street. So 1, 2, 3, go. Oh yeah, right at the stop sign. That's not bad. For not having hydraulic brakes, that's like 2 bikes, maybe a bike and a half. That's not bad. Another thing I noticed as we're holding the brakes is this actually doesn't get brighter. It just flashes when you hold the brakes. So when I let go of them, they stop. And when I hold them, they look like that. And they work when your headlights and stuff aren't on the bike. So the brake light still functions even though the headlight's not on. So that's pretty cool. I just found that out. So you're not gonna have any problems with these brakes. I'm just saying, it just feels so much better in the hands to have hydraulic brakes. But this is a 500 watt motor, even though it feels like, with the bike being so light, I'm not exactly sure how light this bike is, but it has to be like 60 something pounds. It feels phenomenal, like light, responsive, and it just takes off like crazy. It feels like a 1,000 watt moped style e-bike, because those are so much heavier. This is what this feels like. It really feels like it's 1,000 watts in a small little package. So the next thing we got to figure out is how fast the pedals react. So let's try that right now. So we're going pretty slow, like 4 miles an hour. So 1, 2, 3. Ooh, it's a little laggy. Let's try that again. Stop. It takes off like crazy. Ooh, that's kind of slow. I'm counting about 2 seconds on the pedals until they activate. So it's not the fastest responsive e-bike for pedaling. I'll try it one more time. About like 15, 14 miles an hour. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's about a 2 second delay. Now let's see how fast the throttle works. So 1, 2, 3. The throttle's probably about like 1 second delay. Not too bad. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the throttle's about a 1 second delay. So if you want a faster takeoff, you know, you're gonna want to use the throttle at all times. If you're in a sticky situation, you need to get out of traffic or get around someone, or, you know, go across the street, I would stick to the throttle. The pedals are a little laggy. Not the worst that I've felt. I've had bikes that have been 5 seconds. I've also had bikes that have been like 0.5 of a second. These are kind of like in the middle. So I'm not complaining too much about them, but it is what it is. Now we can test out this bell really quick. Move out the way, people. Move out the way. I'm never gonna use it. I know it's good it comes with something other than nothing, but I'm not gonna use that. Another thing I'm never gonna use on this bike, but it is nice that it has, you do have preload on this side, so you can adjust it to your weight on the sag and whatnot. And then you have the lockout on this side. So I have mine fully like soft. I will say that this bike is made for heavier riders, because for me, being 165 pounds, the front suspension is actually pretty stiff. It's not as soft as I would think it would be compared to other e-bikes. So if you're in the like 250 pound range, 260, I feel like the suspension's gonna work pretty good for you, especially like you can kind of like half lock it out, like 25% or 50%, and you can kind of get it feeling the way you want. So it's not too bad. And again, it's very comfortable, but oh man, that's stiff. Definitely stiff. So yeah, all in all, as I head back to the house, I'm not mad about it. It's a nice cruising bike. It's not gonna wow you or anything like that. It's not gonna get you from point A to point B fast, but it's gonna get you there comfortable, quiet, safely. You got something nice to look at. So let me give you my final conclusion when I get back to the house, and I'll let you know if it's worth it, even though I do not know the price. All right, guys, so I am back in the garage, and I left the bike on, so I was looking at the display, and we went exactly 6.0 miles, if this is accurate. I didn't actually do my GPS on my phone to see if this was accurate, but if it is, we went down to 76%, and we started at 96%. So that's not bad at all. We went down 20% for 6 miles, and you saw how I rode. I maybe pedaled this bike half a mile just to kind of show how the pedals worked and everything like that. So that doesn't seem like bad range at all, if you ask me. I love the bike overall. I don't know the price. You guys are gonna find out the price today when I release this video. But I wanna say this bike would be worth it if it's in like the $1,500 range. If it's over $2,000, which I can understand their highest model being over $2,000, because this is the standard one. This is like the lowest of the low of the UrbanGlide. So if this is like 1,500 bucks, cool. If the other one's like 2,000, and then the top of the line one with the Bafang motor is like 2,500, that makes sense to me. So that's just my suggestion. If this is 1,500 bucks, I think that's worth it, because you're not getting a crazy fast e-bike. You're getting a quality e-bike. And I'm telling you, the quality is so nice on this thing. Looking at the cable management up here, the plugs that come out that you quick disconnect that are waterproof, by the way, they barely come out of the wire loom, just enough for you to get that connection in there so you don't have to worry about anything up front. And what I mean by that is the connections aren't all over the place where you have wires just hanging out, you want to zip tie them and get them out of the way. It's all nicely hidden up front. I love it. There's really attention to detail on this whole thing. The gaps on these panels are like fantastic. It's like they really thought this bike out when they engineered it, and it really tells. You can definitely tell when you see it in person. But the thing is, it depends on what you're looking for. Do you want a comfortable ride that looks nice, it's easy to step through, you have nice display and all this other features at a higher premium price, but you only go 20 miles an hour? I mean, you will be legal as a class 2 e-bike, which some places can't even go to class 3. So California, we can go up to 28 miles an hour, but some places can only go up to 20. So maybe this might be the perfect bike for you in your city or state. But all I'm saying is it's not gonna wow you with power. I will say it does get up to 20 miles an hour like within 5 or 6 seconds. It's actually pretty quick, but it doesn't have that top speed that other e-bikes have for the price that this one's probably gonna be. So just keep that in mind if you're looking for an e-bike. But I will say I was very pleased with it. It really just depends on the price. If it's over $2,000, no, I can't recommend this thing. But that's pretty much the video, guys. After looking at the bike, there's really nothing else to say about it. I like it. I don't know if it's really worth it because I don't know the actual price yet, but you know, that's just to be determined. But just take my facts into consideration and think about buying it using the links down in the description. I might also have a code for this bike as well, and we'll do another video. So subscribe if you guys are interested in this bike. I'm gonna take it back and forth to work. We'll do a 14-mile trip. We'll start at 100%. We'll see where our battery range is at, and we'll also check out the rear and front headlight. So subscribe and like this video. See you guys in the next one. You guys are true MVPs. Later. How badass would it be if this bike went like 40, 50 miles an hour? No, I'm not gonna do it. I am not going to do it. Just saying.